the story I have that involves ego, it should be a short one. Pretty much at the place that I work, um, my job is kind of to like check on the work that some other people do and just like verify that it's correct, I guess.
Hmm.
So pretty much at my work, I get on my like RF scanner, I get a bunch of like variances that pop up, and then I just have to sort of look through them and say like see if they're correct or if it's the right number and everything. So I've gone up to people and sort of said like, hey, did you have you counted the stuff in like this aisle yet? And they'll look at me and say like, yeah, I did, and then I'll look at my scanner and it says that they didn't, and then I'll go through and I'll check the entire aisle and I'll say I'll go back and ask them like, I'm not getting anything on my gun. Are you sure you counted? And they're like, oh yeah, I definitely did. I definitely counted it. And then I'll say, well, like, look, there's nothing on my gun. It says you didn't count it. And just because of like the ego, like the ego that blinds them and like gets in the way, even though they've been given proof that they didn't do something, in their head they're still thinking, "Oh, there's no way I didn't do it." They like remember doing it, so all the other stuff doesn't matter. It's just about them and how they did it, and like there's no way they can be wrong. They just cannot admit wrong. And even if like I don't know what technology like gives them proof that they didn't do it, there always has to be something. It's like the technology's fault or it's my fault that the variances aren't popping up instead of it could be their fault, sort of thing. And you could also analyze how I am under the perspective that it's not my fault, it's their fault, and it's not the technology's fault or whatever. Like it's just a whole like ego thing that gets in the way and blinds you from other possibilities because of your own perception of yourself.
Hmm.
I guess the other really good example of that is like when I say, "Hey Randy, do you want some root beer?" And then you say, "I don't want Coke," and then I say, "No, I said root beer," and you say, "No, I said Coke," and then I just like cannot admit that I said Coke when I
Hmm.
actually said root beer because I think I said root beer, but you think I said Coke. You know what I mean? And like unless you have a recording to see what I actually said, I've had so many fights like that of just my mom or whoever just being like, "I didn't say this, I said that," and I'm like, "I just heard you say it. Yes, you did."
Yeah.
But it's like it just wraps around you and gets in the way of what could actually be.
Hmm. I guess like an example I have is at work. We were having issues with like our fabric in the machine. Like it would just constantly be loose, so it would go in the machine loose and like fold. So what we would do to stop that is shut off the accumulator and run it up. So when your
Yeah,
accumulator's up, it would tighten it up. But if you keep it off for too long, your accumulator eventually is empty and it shuts the line down.
yeah,
So I shut the accumulator off and I tell this other worker, hey, I'm just letting you know I just shut off the accumulator and I got to go do this. Just keep an eye on it and make sure to shut it back on. So I hop on the truck to go grab a new A-frame, and I just hear the line beep, and then it just shuts down. So I jump off, I run over to start it back up quickly, and I do like you just gotta like flick it open and start the line up. And if you're like lucky, it's like that, it's quick.
yeah.
And then I told him like, hey, I told you to launch that, and he's like, no, you didn't. You just said that. Well, I said I told him I shut it off, and he said, no, you didn't. You just told me to watch it. And we got in a bit of an argument, and then eventually the third guy there, he said, yeah, he did tell you that he shut it off,
Yeah.
and
Everybody gets into those situations where
mm-hmm,
it's just a butting of egos.
yeah,
Um, a man I really like listening to a lot, who is under the philosophy realm. He's also just a general research guy. Pretty much, his name is Terence McKenna. He's a big advocator of the use of psychedelic drugs and the psychedelic experience. And
mm-hmm,
I watched a lot of his videos on YouTube. And the one thing he said about ego that I think is awesome is even if you don't agree with it, it's still a cool thought. He pretty much talked about how like every problem you can ever have ever really stems from just an excessive inflation in ego.
mm-hmm,
So like it's really only a problem because your ego makes it one. Like the only reason that you losing your job is a problem is because you care about losing your job. As soon as you stop caring about that, it is no longer a problem at all. So it's almost like the thing that makes you you causes every problem ever. It's like yeah, it's like the one thing you can't escape from. You can make you can. He talked about how you can do your best to maintain it, but you can't escape from it, and it literally just destroys you from the inside because it causes every single thing ever that can harm you. Um, like if you get attacked by a lion, that's only a problem because you're scared of death and you don't want to die. But as soon as you aren't scared of that, or as soon as you don't care about dying, that's not a problem anymore. You just die, and then that's it. And I guess people have problems wrapping their head around that because they get into the definition of like what ego is and like is ego really the cause? But
Mhm.
it's still an interesting thought, I guess. That
Yeah.
it's sort of like the root that spawns everything, but you need the root to create the plant. I guess that's how I view ego. Like it needs to be there in order for like life or like a human or like a plant to be there.
Yeah.
But the root is also what causes everything, like the problem and stuff. All the problems the plant would face is because the root created it,
Hmm.
I guess. But yeah, I hate how I every single segment is ended with but.
Yeah.